Hi everyone, it's Koinzell here. So today I'm going to talk about the new classes that you guys are getting global tomorrow, or rather the week of 10th November. So essentially you're getting the Musa and Maehwa. Now Musa and Maehwa, I'm just going to talk quickly about the both the Awakening and Ascension for Musa and Maehwa. So for Musa, right, this is the Ascension class that you are seeing here. Between the Musa and Maehwa Ascension, both of the Ascension, their skills are actually very similar. In fact, some of them are entirely the same. So those that are same, for example, the dash attack, this is exactly the same. This is also exactly the same. The counter skill as well as the backward slash, so it's the same. So basically, right, the main difference, in fact even the weapons are the same. The main weapon and sub weapon are the same between the Musa Ascension as well as the Maehwa Ascension. Now the key difference I would say between the two classes is that the Musa has skills like the a concept of wing and tide tornado. This is actually a very good AoE skill for farming and GVG. This tornado here. This as well, fairly decent. And there's also one skill that I do not have the I do not have it unlocked yet because I need to kill the world boss, and I just created a character yesterday, so that's why I don't have enough of the world boss opportunity to unlock the skill. But this is basically a pure PvE skill. You see it has a pretty decent AoE. Okay. The Maehwa Ascension on the other hand, she doesn't have the tornado team. What she has is like a pink petal, pink blade winds instead of type tornado. But I feel that her overall AoE is actually smaller than Musa. What this means is that Musa's farming is actually better than the Maehwa for the Ascension. Okay, so Musa Ascension farming, in my opinion, is better than the Maehwa Ascension farming, mainly because of the AoE, the tornadoes that he has. Whereas on the other hand, for the Maehwa Awakening, her AoE is still quite limited to the area around her, rather than this skill here where you have this skill here where you have the typhoon that travels. So that is it for these two classes in terms of the high level overview. Now we talk about the high level overview for the Maehwa Awakening versus the Musa Awakening. So for that, right, okay, actually, right, before that I'll just talk about the PvE here, since I just already mentioned it. So you see the Musa, by the way, this dash skill is actually one of the fastest melee dash skills, range skill that I've seen so far. This melee slash for a range skill, right? For a melee class range skill, is definitely one of the fastest I've ever seen actually. Other classes like Lan etc., Lan Awakening etc., is not as fast. And this is, if you saw just now, that was the Typhoon I was talking about, the Traveling Typhoon. And look at how big the AoE for the slash is. And bear in mind that my skills are all at level 1. For the range attack, right, there's a 10% AoE increase once you hit level 2 or 3 for the skill. And for the Typhoon as well. Yeah, so it's pretty good. You'll see here that I am using normal attack a couple of times because I only have 4 skills here. What I really need is the last skill that I do not have yet, which is this. Okay, with this in, 5 skills should be good enough for Hadum, because the rest of his skills aren't that great for farming. You see there's a dash attack, there's a range attack using the arrow. The counter skill obviously is not good, because no matter what, right, even if you click it fast, there's still a bit of delay. Yeah, even with the enhanced effect. So it's not really a skill used for farming. This is his traveling skill, or rather his mobility skill, so not good as well for farming. Neither is the backward slash good. So for Musa, the farming skills are actually very straightforward. It's just the first 4 skills, and this one. That's it. The one where you need to kill world boss to unlock. I can't say the number because until I unlock it, right, then the position will be accurate. Okay, so essentially, right, this is the PvE of Musa. I think his PvE is pretty good, but without that 5th skill, I can't really do a how should I put it? I can't really do a KPM video to show you guys. But he is definitely one of the better ones in PvE. And in GVG, because of his range skills, you have the one where the slash is very fast. You have the Typhoon. You also have the arrow skill, but arrow skill is really not that great. Arrow skill is like a single target kind of thing. I think it pierces once, so it's 2 targets. That's it. But his counter skill is really good. I'm just gonna talk in depth about this class for a bit here. His counter skill is really good because it has forward guard. And you can activate it at any time. While he's here trying to charge and stall, right? And defending, you can activate it at any time. Yeah, as you can see here. But no matter what, there's a slight delay because there's an animation of him charging and defending first before you attack. But it's definitely good because it forward guards, and when you use it in PvP or GVG, you can hold it there provided there's no one behind you, which most of the case should not be the case. More often than not should not be the case. Okay, so he's really good in PvP, very high skill level cap for PvP. If you are really skillful with him, you use your skills at the right timing, especially the counter. He's actually a very strong class in PvP, one of the top tier, S tier. Yeah, definitely. I'll rate him to S tier if you are good, if you have a high skill level. So it's harder to use him to S tier, but at least you can use him up to S tier. Say compared to other classes, say for example Berserker, where it's easy to use him, but you can't use him to S tier with a high skill level cap. Yep. Okay, so that's the PvP aspect of it. Yeah, I think this is my PvP setup. Yep, this is my PvP setup. The concept is really get near to your opponent, do the counter. There are 2 skills that you can use mobility. I recommend using the arrow first before using the dash attack, because the range of the dash attack is actually quite low, whereas the arrow is not too bad. But obviously you shouldn't use this blindly since you have no super armor. If you want to be safe, you have to use this that has super armor, and you can use it twice. Within the one usage of the skill, you can actually dash twice. I'll talk a bit more when I compare the mobility between Musa Ascension and Maehwa Awakening, because those are the 2 classes that I have. Okay, so now I have more or less covered the Musa Ascension, other than the mobility part of it. My recommendation is Musa Ascension over Maehwa Ascension, because the 2 classes are very similar, but Musa has a slight advantage, very slight advantage in PvE and GVG because of his range. That's about it. So since the character slot that we have in BDM is 1 per class, right, base class, my recommendation actually is to go for the Musa Ascension and the Maehwa Awakening, which are the 2 classes that I have right now on this sub account. Why? Because Musa Awakening is terrible. That class is like D tier. He's not great in farming. His skills are all very slow. He swings the halberd very slowly, and there's no CC effect. So unlike the Maehwa Awakening's team is using a spear instead of halberd, and she has frost related skills. She actually has a skill that can freeze your opponent, and it's a AoE skill as well. It's a frontal AoE skill. So the Musa Awakening is a very terrible class. I really don't recommend anyone to use it. Of course, you can choose not to take my word for it and you want to try, that's fine. What you can do, right, is to first change to Musa Awakening and try it out. If you don't like it, you can change it to Musa Ascension and use up via that 100 million silver, right? Because it's only 100 million silver the first time you do the change. But double check in global before, if that's the case. I believe that's the case if I'm not wrong. If it's not, then better go straight for Musa Ascension. Yeah, so for us, you see here, there's a one-time chance per character, 100 million silver, to change between Ascension and the Awaken. And also this growth for changing the weapons. But I really don't recommend Musa Awakening. That class doesn't even have any CC or grab. His farming is slow, all his skills are slow. It's really a terrible class until they decide to buff it. Otherwise, it's like a universally recognized worst class in PDM, really. Even the Paladin, right, is more useful because at least Paladin has a grab. That Musa Awakening is really horrendous. Alright? Okay. No wonder it's running around. Okay, so let me go down then to the Maehwa. I also just created a Maehwa yesterday, so likewise she still has one skill that's not unlocked yet because of the world boss, killing the world boss requirement. Okay, so you see Musa, oh sorry, not Musa, Maehwa Awakening, her team is all about the spear. She's using a spear. And these are her frost skills. Sorry, her skill has a team of like chill and frost. So in fact, I personally like this skill a lot. It looks really cool. And the combo effect is very fulfilling. This skill is okay for PvE, but I actually don't think it's good for PvP. Because other than a knockback, right? Sorry, a knockdown. I'm not sure what you guys will translate this effect as. It's not exactly knockdown, it's the one where your opponent goes a bit of distance before going down. This skill is a PvE skill. Okay, so you see her skill effects are all like chill. And the most iconic skill of hers is this, where she can freeze. She also has the counter skill. That's nice. This is her mobility skill. This is her 11th skill, which frankly speaking is not great. So generally speaking, right, if you have a high skill cap, the Maehwa Ascension might be slightly better because she has the same inbar skills that the Musa has in terms of for PvP. But what I really like about the Maehwa Awakening is the team of the class itself. And more importantly, right, is that her skills in PvP actually deal a lot of damage. If you look at this, right, the 8 hits are really fast. You can easily hit 1000 plus damage. This skill here really hits like a ton. Look at this. At level 1, this is 1007, almost 1700 percentage. Almost 1700 percentage. So this is really really strong. So in fact, the Maehwa Awakening combo is most of the time, even in unranked arena, right, if you can get your opponent down, it's actually very easy to kill them one combo. I'm serious. All you need to do, let's say if you manage to connect the dash attack where they are stunned, you hit them with this, it will knock them down. The last hit will knock them down. So as you can see here, use this skill, which is the one that I said the damage really hits like a ton. Oh, sorry, not this. Once you use this, you can immediately use this, and the combo is done. Your opponent will die. I'm serious. It's a immediate death combo the moment you knock your opponent down in unranked arena. Okay, now for the Maehwa Awakening, I'm actually going to go one step further and talk about her recent buff. Because it's important for me to talk about the buff, because in the buff, right, in the patch notes for the buff, they will talk about certain changes to the skills where when you use a specific skill after the other, the skill actually attacks faster. And you also made some other changes in terms, there's also some other changes in terms of like certain skills can be used immediately regardless of what skill you are using. That means it can cancel the current animation and immediately use the skill. This skill, for example, is the one where you can cancel any skill casting and use it immediately. This is her mobility skill. Okay, so now without further ado, let me go to the patch notes itself. One of the reasons why I say it's important to look at the patch notes is also, this is not just for Maehwa Awakening, it applies to all the classes. There are certain skills that when you use in combo, it's faster. Take for example Archer and the Phantasma as well. Those are the ones I can remember. I'm sure all classes have one or two skills that are like this. So it's important for us to look at the patch notes here. So effectively it's just saying for the Maehwa Awakening, right, the enhancement effect of reducing the movement speed and attack speed has been buffed. You can see here, movement speed is 50%, attack speed is 30% debuff. This is exactly the same as Archmage actually, which makes sense because Archmage is because both of them are frost teams, right? So they should have a bigger slow effect compared to the rest of the classes. Okay, this dash attack, right, they actually added the movement speed debuff. That's right. This is very important in Black Sun because the 50% movement speed debuff is gonna make it such that your opponent can't run away from you. Okay? And they can't chase you as well. Before you run, try to use this dash attack and then use the mobility skill to move away. With that 50% debuff to movement speed, your opponent can't chase you at all. Well, unless it's a high mobility class like Shy or Lan. Otherwise, they can't. Okay. Okay, so this is the skill that I was talking about, the one I really like. That she does the multiple steps. This skill has been buffed such that, right? Let me just show it here. I think it's easier. She will do a short dash before attacking, and the short dash itself, when the moment she encounters an enemy, she will stop. It's a short dash, yes, but the moment she encounters an enemy, she will stop. Okay, so that this gives her the mobility required to really use her step skill well. I personally really like this. But what this also means is that when you go PvE, right? Let me see whether I can demonstrate here. Oh wait, okay. What I'm trying to say is that between her steps, right, she will actually move and change direction to farm. You can see here. She will auto move direction and farm. So it's kind of like the Archer's machine gun skill. So she really can move around, and this makes this skill really great in farming now, because previously, right, it doesn't do that. is more frontal. So this is actually a great skill for farming and for PvP as well, because of the damage like I mentioned, as the fact that it has also knockdown. Okay. The buffs about the damage and the additional hits, right? I'm not gonna cover them because when you guys get them in global, it will already the buff version. Okay. This is a PvE skill. This is actually this skill here. I know it states PvP here, but I actually don't think it's great for PvP because the knockback, right, only happens on the last hit. So the first swing, right, her animation, right, she doesn't knock opponent down and she's very vulnerable. I actually don't think this is a good skill for PvP. For PvE, yes, not for PvP. Okay, so yeah, this is just a PvE skill. They're just fun buffing her PvE capability. This is also a PvE skill. It's a simple 360 attack skill, so obviously it's good for PvE. This is just increasing the number of opponents it can hit, like the Sarah effect. Okay, so I'm not going to talk much about this since it's a PvE skill and you guys will just get the buff version anyway. Okay, now the most important skill and the whole reason why I should be doing the patch notes for you guys, as in reviewing this change, right, this buff, is here. This particular statement here. What happens is that it means that this skill now has been changed such that it can use to be cancel any existing skill animation, so that you can actually move away or chase your opponent. So take for example, let's see. Oh wait, have it here, right? Okay. So let's say you are using your counter skill and your opponent runs away instead. You can actually use this skill at any time. Okay, let me just. Okay, I shouldn't have done that. Now I need to wait for the cooldown. Okay. You can see here, you can cancel it immediately. Okay. So if you use this and for some reason your opponent ran away, you can actually use this to chase. You can also use it to escape. You can do this. You have forward guard, right? And use this to escape. Okay. You can also change the forward guard to super armor, but I personally don't recommend that. Forward guard is definitely stronger than super armor, provided you position your character correctly. Okay. They also buff the skill such that they add a lot of effects. Like, by the way, right, when you jump, right, you're actually invulnerable. The motion when she jumps, she's actually invulnerable. She doesn't take any damage at all. It's only when she attacks, while at the second half of this animation, when she attacks, then she has super armor instead of invulnerability. But either way, it's a great skill. You can see from the number of text items here, you know that they really buff this skill, right? And because of how imbar this skill is, they have to balance it a bit. So instead of movement speed debuff, it's a attack speed debuff. But it's still attack speed debuff. It's still a debuff that is quite substantial. 30% attack speed debuff is something very visible when you use your character. I'm sure you guys all know. You have fought against Archmage already, so you definitely know what I'm talking about. The movements and the distance, the movement speed and the distance has been buffed for this skill as well. Later on, I will do a very quick comparison between the two classes, the Musa Ascension and the Maehwa Awakening, just to show their mobility. I'm very sure you guys can see from her skills here, right? She has a dash attack, and she has this mobility skill. On top of that, she has this that can move a distance as well. This moves. Oh, okay, this doesn't move a distance. Sorry. And then she has her iconic freeze skill, which is pretty nice. So, mobility-wise, I can tell you for sure right now, the Maehwa Awakening is better. Definitely better than the Musa Ascension. So this is a factor in Black Sun. Okay. And also in Arena actually, if you are up against someone who moves around a lot. Okay. Okay, now The next part is about talking about this skill, which is the one where I say it hits like a ton. This one. Okay. So they reduce the cooldown for it, they increase the amount of times you can use it, and while reducing the cooldown, right, they changed. Previously it was the enhancement effect they gave the cooldown, now they made the skill by default having the cooldown reduction of 2 seconds, and gave the attack speed debuff. So on top of hitting like a ton, this has an attack speed debuff as well, and it's only a 6-second cooldown and you can use it twice. Here's the reason why I say the Maehwa Awakening combo is very strong. The moment you knock your opponent down, right, it's a high chance you can kill your opponent in one combo, even in unranked arena. Okay. So imagine if a high CP character use it. Oh my god, just don't get knocked down. That's all I can say. There's a slight increase to the movement as well for this skill that I say hit as stun, in terms of the charge effect of it. Obviously you can't use this to chase because anyway there's a charging effect. It's just that the movement increases a bit. Okay, it's actually pretty nice, the range. Okay, I don't really think need to talk about the buff. You guys will get the buff version, so no worries about that. Okay, the iconic skill, the one that gives her the freeze. So cooldown reduction. Oh, one other thing. This here is simply stating that when you use the ice wave skill, it has been changed such that you can immediately use any other skill. In the past, there was a bit of a lag on this, where after she swings her spear, you can't use the other skill. But now other skills, not as fast, but now it's almost they increase the speed where you can use other skills right after this. So it becomes a skill where finally you can do a combo with it, decent combos with it. And then you have the pretty straightforward buff in the damage. Okay, it's quite a big buff actually, it's like 20+%. Okay, another important thing which I need to talk about, which will not be there in the skill description or in the patch notes when you get a new class. It's not there, because when you get a new class, it just lists you the skills and what are the effects of the skills, the branches, but it will not talk about combo stuff like this, where the counter skill, right, this counter skill itself, right after using it, this is faster. Do you guys see the difference? Okay, this is without using the combo, right? So the charge time is slightly longer, but it's faster when you use the counter skill. I'm not sure whether it's clear, it's obvious. The difference is quite minute, but it makes a difference when you are trying to combo your opponent, especially when your opponent is down. Alright. Yeah, here you can see the difference, right? When you use it without, right, the charging takes longer. So this is something, if you don't look at the patch notes in terms of buffing the character, you will never know, because when they first introduce the class, right, they don't talk about such effects. The effect about this skill here, the mobility, being able to cancel any other skill while using it, will also not be there. So all of these, right, that's why I say it's important to look at the buff notes, the buff patch notes. Okay. Likewise for the freeze skill, if you want to use some other skill immediately after, but this is still not so bad because it's not about combo. It works for every skill, so it's not about combo. Whereas for this, to chain with this, it's something that you wouldn't know unless you read the buff notes for other servers. For you guys, when you get the buff already, it's already buffed. So you wouldn't even have it in the patch notes. This is something I've noticed all along for the other classes as well. Not just I mean, so far for all the new classes that you guys have gotten, they don't really cover on this. Okay. Okay, what else? Okay, so that's the end of it for the Maehwa buff patch notes. So let me just repeat again the important things to take note of. Okay, things that are not covered in the patch notes when you get the class itself, not the buff. Okay, things that are not covered. Let's see. This point here, the mobility skill. Using it to cancel any skill that is casting in animation. Cancel animation and immediately cast this skill. Okay, that's number one. Number two. Okay, for this, right, because it is the change for that the freeze ice wave skill. It applies to all skills, so you guys won't feel the difference once you get the buff one, and it doesn't matter which skill it is since it applies to all skills. And which is the one I just talked about, where after using the counter skill, this skill is faster. Okay, so two important things to take note of that would not be in the patch notes. Alright, so I really talk a lot already. The video is long, much longer than I expected. So now I'm going to just do a very quick look at the mobility of the Maehwa Awakening. So first off, right, let's look at the dash attack. You see here, it travels more than half of this fence, okay, as a reference. And don't forget that her attacks, right, are all using this spear with a nice long range. So it's almost like towards the end of this fence already, if I'm not wrong. Let's try and see. Yeah, it's almost at the end of the fence already. So this dash attack basically, right, in terms of the attacking, it covers the entire distance of this fence here. In terms of movement, it covers about 2/3. Yeah, it's about 2/3. Okay, so her dash attack is actually very strong, I would say, compared to Musa Ascension, and in turn Maehwa Awakening. I say Musa again. And in turn the Maehwa Ascension, sorry, between the Musa Ascension and Maehwa Ascension, the dash attack is pretty much the same. Okay, and the mobility skill for Maehwa Awakening is really fast. You see here, and it travels to the end of the fence as well. And given the damage, right, the attack range, right, is also at the end of the fence, basically. So now let's compare this for the Musa. Okay. I will come to this spot to show you guys the difference. Okay, let's see. I don't know on this. Okay, so now we are at the fence. Let's talk about the dash attack first. This is the dash attack for Musa Ascension, and it's going to be the same for the Maehwa Ascension as well. You can feel it, right? It's like so much slower than the Maehwa Awakening. In terms of attack range, this is the movement. Okay, this is just the movement. The attack range is only about half of the fence, really, and movement is like only 2 blocks here. So it's actually a very short dash attack, I would say. So that's why my recommendation always use this, the arrow skill, which by the way has a movement to it as well. You see here, he will take a small dash before he attacks. So in terms of chasing people, you can use this, followed by this. But it's, like I said, right, it still doesn't feel as fast as the Maehwa Awakening, that's for sure. Now let's look at the mobility skill for the Musa Awakening. It's very slow, right? I don't know about you guys, but I feel that this is really slow. I mean, even the mobility skill for a lot of other classes are faster, like Tamer, Phantasma, they are all faster than this. The main reason is that it's a mobility with attack, but it's not a high attack, honestly speaking. And by the way, you have to click this twice. If you don't click this twice, he's only going to dash once, and the distance cover is going to be even shorter. Oh, okay. The auto move the enemy. Okay. You see the distance covered for one dash is in fact shorter than the Maehwa Awakening's dash attack. Because Maehwa Awakening's dash attack was like somewhere here. Okay. So this mobility skill, you gotta make sure that you do this. Okay. But in terms of like overall chasing people, it's still not so bad because you can use the double dash, followed by the arrow, and then follow up with the dash attack to reach your opponent. So in terms of chasing people, right? Wait, what happened? Did I click something wrong? Okay, I don't know. So this is the way he chases people. Obviously, after the arrow, if your arrow connects, then it's this. If your arrow doesn't connect, this wouldn't chase your opponent anyway, the dash attack. So that's the mobility for Musa Ascension in Black Sun. Overall, my conclusion is that the Maehwa Awakening's mobility is definitely higher than Musa Ascension. But Musa Ascension, obviously, he has the other skills in PvP that are good as well, which the Maehwa Ascension would have as well. Stuff like the counter, as well as the backward slash that is invulnerable. Okay. But one thing good about the Maehwa Awakening is that she has the counter skill as well. Okay. Okay, so for the Musa Awakening, he doesn't have the counter skill, but he has the backward slash. That's the backward slash, yeah. So he has this same backward slash. It's pretty much the same, just that he's using a halberd instead of a sword or katana. So that's the gist of it. That's why the Musa Awakening is not as good as the Maehwa Awakening, because he doesn't have the counter skill. He only has the backward slash. The counter skill is what makes the Musa and Maehwa classes good, really. Okay. And Maehwa Awakening is strong because of the fact that she can freeze and all the other better mobility, and the fact that her skills are also much faster. Okay, so my recommendation is go for the Musa Ascension and Maehwa Awakening. Now the very last thing, if you are someone who want to play Black Sun a lot, you treasure the mobility a lot, then I'm sure you will enjoy the Maehwa Awakening. But before you do any class change, always remember to create an alternate character, try it out first before you do the class change, yeah? Okay, so I'm gonna end off with a bit of the PvE, showcasing a bit of the PvE for the Maehwa Awakening. Oh, the Maehwa Awakening, right? The skill that I don't have right now. Sorry. The skill that I don't have right now. Also because I haven't killed the world boss. it actually leaves a frost area effect. You can see here, yeah. It leaves a frost area effect on the floor that does 20% in PvE, 20% each tick over 5 ticks of damage. So this makes her really good in farming too, if your CP is very high, because this will kill the monster immediately. If your CP is so high that this 20% is sufficient to kill the mobs that you are farming, it will increase her farming speed by a lot, dramatically, just like how you have it for Amish. Same concept really. Okay, so before that, right, let's go straight to town. Let's go to the same farming spot that we went just now on the Musa. So I show you guys. Windwalker, the set class. Actually, between Windwalker and Musa Awakening, I think Musa Awakening is worse. At least Windwalker is fun to play. She's fast. Okay, wrong skill setup. Okay, now it's the right one. You can see here, her farming is actually pretty good. Her AoE, her range. Maehwa Awakening is very nice. That's why I like her. It's just that she's in a bit of an awkward situation, where if you want a class with CC, Archmage is better. If you want a class that does decent damage, okay, I think she actually does more damage than Berserker. It's just that Berserker is a bit more balanced overall. Nah, actually, I would say she's not too bad actually. It's more like GVG, the range classes are the ones that are better, so that's where she has a advantage. Okay. Berserker is better because of the forward guard. The forward guard that he has when attacking. That's why Berserker is a better melee class. But in terms of damage, she's definitely there. Her damage is good. Okay, you see normal attack here is because I only have 4 skills. No, 5 skills here. I'm still missing that last skill. The one that leaves the aura on the floor. That's a frost skill, which freeze ice wave skill. That's very nice. Yeah, okay. So that was the multiple step. You see that you will auto change direction and move. And that's there you go. That's the best example I can show already. So if you guys like me, you like the spear team, right? I would think that it's okay to go for Maehwa Awakening. Okay. Even considering the classes that you guys have on the global right now. Well, Phantasma is still not bad. It's still one of the top classes. Because you guys don't have Archer yet. Yeah, so that's the reason why. Okay. So in case you guys want to ask me, right, whether or not that skill, the aura skill, is it loses out to the Frigifort because it doesn't freeze. That damage doesn't freeze. Okay, so I can tell here. Unless there's an enhancement effect here to do it. Let me think. Actually, you know what? Let me just do a quick check. Where is the Maehwa? We can just look at the skill description here. Oh no, this is the Ascension class. quota. The effect for that skill with the aura damage on the floor, it doesn't freeze your opponent. What it does is the additional effect is just to reduce the cooldown and increase the number of mobs that it can hit. It does have branch damage as well, L and Ahib. Okay. Okay, I think the next question that people ask me is the branch build, right? Yeah, it's very straightforward. These three. By now, you guys in global should be able to get 3 branches maxed out already, right? You will have one more skill for farming, which is the L. Under L branch for the one with that leaves the aura on the floor. Okay. I don't know why it's starting a bit laggy, FPS lag here. Okay, but anyway, that is the gist of it. That is the summary I have for these 4 classes. Just change the song, it's a bit loud. I like this music. Okay, so the summary is, my personal recommendation, go for Musa Ascension and Maehwa Awakening, because these are the 2 stronger classes for that base class. Musa Ascension is better than Musa Awakening. Maehwa Awakening is a bit hard to say whether it's better than Maehwa Ascension. But given that Maehwa Ascension is so similar to Musa Ascension but slightly behind because of the AoE, it's better to go for the Maehwa Awakening. In fact, right now I'm considering whether I should use the Maehwa Awakening as my main for my sub account anyway. In fact, I think when they release the buff to melee classes in future, it's actually a pretty good choice, the Maehwa Awakening as a main. But it really depends on how that buff works out, whether or not it's good enough to make it such that ranged classes aren't as impa. But it remains to be seen, like I said. Alright, thanks everyone for watching. I know the video is a bit long. Thanks for bearing with me. Alright, see you guys. Bye.